Okay. Okay, I didn't see the links here. Maybe we can come back if he can join later, and we can come back this this topic. I'm looking forward to discuss this more. And let's move to next topic. Ted, are you here?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, please.
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be quick. So let me paste the link to the chat. So this is a link to my PR. So let me describe the problem. Similar problem has been reported before, and when I look at the referenced issue, let me go. The issue is 52172. I scrolled through the issue and I found some previous PR which was abandoned. So let me describe the current risk condition which we observed. There are two classes involved. One is a container log manager, and the other one is container GC. So looking at how a container log rotation works. So first, we renamed the current log to rotated log file. So the log file name contains the current timestamp. After that, we call CRI to reopen the container log. So if this reopening attempt fails, step 3 is to roll back, meaning rename this timestamped rotated log file back to a container log. So, we know that the container GC runs periodically. So I checked, I think it's 1 minute. Since the timing of these two Go routines is indeterministic, so between steps 1, 2, or 1, 3, there's a very small but non-negligible amount of time during which the container GC, of course, GC does several things, among which is to clean up stale symlink. So the container GC may find the symlink to be unhealthy and it removes it. So this PR proposes the introduction of a lock between container GC and the container log manager. I think at a SIG Node meeting, we're not diving into the detail of the PR since many people haven't looked at the PR yet. So I just want to bring SIG Node's attention to this risk condition and the proposed solution.
Yeah, I haven't looked at your PR, but from high level, do you ever think about the instant introduce locking here and introduce this actual complexity? Do you ever think about we can make sure, like the check whether the container is still running before we removing of the symlink? And so basically we just before then we just always check, and if it's the container still running and we just don't remove, is that will be simplify this whole logic here? So we won't mistakenly doing the log rotation and remove of the symbolic link. So we just basically not just we check container state, container is running state or not.
If I understand your comment correctly, you're asking the container GC checking whether container is running?
Yes. Yeah, because you basically really want to do this when is the container already really gone and it's not running. I mean, not gone, it's gone. It's not running. So then you want to do those things, right? So instead introduce that the locking here, and can we just do the one extra check here?
I need to look at the code since this suggestion hasn't occurred to me prior to the meeting. Okay. But one issue I can think of is judging whether a container is running or not sometimes may be tricky, right? So it may be in a pause, right? So yeah, this would involve some liveness check with regard to the container, right? Since, to my knowledge, container GC, at least currently, is not concerned with this aspect, meaning liveness aspect, right?
Yes, yes,
So,
yes. I just threw some thoughts because I think the introduce there's the I can understand what's the problem based on you describe. There's the problem, but I think about it's just can we simplify the is there any simple way to fix this problem instead of the introduce logging here? Because the risk is relatively small, and so and also it's more it's like the okay we doing that log rotation and we expose those problems and introduce that risk. So
I understand. So your suggestion is to somehow reduce the complexity of the change. As I said a moment ago, I think I will definitely look at the code after my presentation. But my doubt is that checking say this liveness of a container maybe non-trivial.
Yes.
Of course, so, if there's existing API, I'll definitely try to utilize it.
Sure. So before this meeting, unfortunately, both Nantao and Yuji cannot attend the meeting, especially Nantao implement container log rotation initially.
Yes, I know.
So I did poke him and ask him to review his PR. But so I just gave you some idea to simplify that logical. And so maybe.
Yeah, so I understand. So during last Tuesday's meeting, I noticed that Lantao was there. Well, maybe today he's not present. Actually, a lot of my, well, several of my PRs in SIG Node were based on his work. So yeah, it would be nice if he can take a look and look at the specifics. Yeah.
Totally. I already poked him. And unfortunately, he couldn't attend today's meeting, but we can carry the discussing offline. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it for my part.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move to next one. And I think the next topic is the CRYL test.
Yeah. Let me share my screen.
Yeah. Thanks. This is more for the C group version 2, right? So new test for C group version 2.
Yes, that's the ultimate aim. But so you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, cool. So we have, let me just, so the C group V2 was merged recently in a kubelet. And so the idea is to have the some test cases running which can use the C group V2 supported infrastructure to run the test cases. So I went over the test infra and I saw there's a containerd job running with some periodic job here. We're running Kubernetes E2E. And so that way I kind of wrote a very simple skeleton work in progress PR for which adds just one periodic test case right now, which instead of containerd uses Creo. And what it does, it also uses the Fedora 31, which comes C group V2 enabled by default. This is not public and this is not really in a working shape, but I just wanted to gather a feedback. I went to SIG testing last week and they said that since this is in the SIG Node area, maybe I should talk to you guys. So I think if the PR is right now marked with Lantao, for Lantao to approve it, I guess, so that, but I guess he's not here.
You can send
so
people.
What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think this is what when last time we talked about the SQL version 2, so came from us, right? So start from the Node E2E first, because Node E2E actually have the carry more node level resource management test. So then we can, through the evolve of the node E2E, like we do have some resource stress test, and we introduced before, and when we first introduced the resource management, even QoS, and but those never really expanded at the class level because it's just hard to make those tests deterministics, and it's hard to grow, graduate those tests as the conform test or performance test at the cluster level. So we maintain that at the node level. And so that's why, yeah, I'm totally okay with this one, start with this one. And can you have some another one? Do you have the container D one too? Because we actually should be, can you also have the container D1? Even like this, most of the C group version 2, actually the code is in the run C, and but there also have the change in the lib container, right? So
Don, if you don't mind, can we ask like Mike or some of the container D maintainers to pick that task up?
Sure.
Because like Herschel is just ramping up on cryo, so it'll be too much for him. So
sure.
Yeah.
Michael, I saw Michael here.
I was going, what are you looking for?
So when the SIG version 2, because we have the one goal to push like the community, make that Kubernetes compatible, right? Kubernetes, especially on the node, and compatible with the SIG version 2. So, and to enable SIG version 2, actually there's already have the change. Long time ago we discussed, then we asked like the run C, make the run C compatible, and there's also lib container compatible. So all the change actually is already in, and I believe today's container D, and of course cryo. So cryo container is the 2 we basically SIG Node endorsed the container runtime, right? So it's conformed, and so I'm now.
I believe all the container runtimes are conforming, right? It's just that we don't always run the E2E or the node tests, right?
Yes. So now we want to add the node E2E test just for the cryo plus C group version 2 test. And we are wondering, can you help to add the container D1 version node E2E here? So make that it is comparable. And so SIG Node can push and say next release, we can say, oh, we did this. And we endorse those 2 container runtime, which is being installed in the past, and compatible with version 2. Otherwise, we have to do the extra work, or we only install off the cryo, and then have no idea about the container D. So
yeah, sure. Just hook me up with whoever I need to talk to that's enhancing those test buckets to add container D and cryo, and I can help out there.
Yeah, Mike, you can sync with Herschel, who is adding the cryo test, so we can make sure that both of the tests are similar.
Okay. All right.
Herschel, one feedback here on that PR is, don't start with the periodic test first. Start with the pull tests, pre-submit tests. Then it's easier to test. Otherwise, you will have to wait for the CI jobs to run, or try to get test infra to run that test for you. So it's better to start with a pre-submit job rather than a CI job, periodic job.
Yeah, and we're of course doing that already on Container D, right? We've got the infra tests, we do the pre-submits, every time we build Container D. So again, I'm just trying to understand that I assume there's some strategy now to also run the container runtimes in the Kubernetes builds on some cyclical cycle, so that you can verify that we're not breaking the container runtimes, when we do PRs in Kubernetes. Is that what's going on here?
No, actually, this is more for the C group version 2 and the conform test for the Kubernetes. So it's not really container runtime. Another thing I want to mention that even we add those to the pre-submit test, And there's the reason we start from the node E2E, first things are simple for everybody. And so you don't need to end up to like mess up and also is like the resource saving. You start from you are not always create off the 3 or 4 nodes cluster and run, and then you run into some problem, and it could be totally different problem, network problem, any other problem, nothing to do with SIG group version 2. So you debug. So we start from node, so you can limit it because node E2 is carefully designed just for node feature. So, and also can easy to add more tests. So even we add the pre-submit test there, it's just most for the basic functionality. But SIG group version 2 is more like for resource management, right? So on that node, so we used to have the stress test. Those stress tests have to manually trigger. So,
okay, and you're not going to put that in node to E2E. You're going to leave that outside in another bucket. Is that? Exactly.
So you still need the trigger for those SIG group version 2 tests for both container runtime. Please add that stress node E2E test. Make sure we achieve the same goal. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yep. We need to add another pre-submit. Got it. And I'll talk to Herschel to see what they're doing in Cryo and try to do it the same way.
Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Let's move to next topic. And I think the BG, do you want to, or others, do you want to talk about this memory management?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, so I just want to have a short talk on that, because we just created a document that this is the attempt to explain in details what is the memory manager about, and we did our best to provide a clear view of memory manager by providing many illustrations. And the main point is that we have a warm invitation to the community, and we would like to obtain some review, some comments. And I saw that Francesco, there are some comments left from Francesco and Tent, and we will reply to them. And another thing is why I'm asking about comment is because our colleague from Korea cannot in fact attend these meetings because they are in different. He is in different time zones. So if you could left comments in the document, so he also can address the comments. And yeah, and we also plan to prepare some demo, some proof of concept. So maybe this month or next month we will show this proof of concept. And also Aluciano is working on the proof of concept. He's attending the meeting, so probably he will do the demonstration. But I think it will be this month or next month. We will see how it's going to progress. So yeah, I think for now that's all from our side. So we could make some discussion later, or present some presentation, and then maybe discuss if there will be still anything to discuss.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
I think thank you for put everything in the doc, and let's carry off the review feedback from the doc. Please make sure the reviewer, and I will nominate from our side, and please I hope that Derek can nominate one from the Red Hat, because he also and his team and also add a lot of memory management things. I also will nominate someone from my side, because we also a lot of effort on memory management. And please include someone from the Intel for the typology management, so we can consolidate all the effort together and have
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so I will put some comment there, and through those comments, because Derek today have some conflicts, so he cannot attend the meeting. So I will put some comment, make sure he can nominate someone represent and his team, because especially like the huge page management, and also from our side, because we implement the initial version of the QoS and also initial version of the memory management, and also in-help folks from the topology management. So we build the team, but everyone in SIG Node and the Kubernetes community, please feel free to comment on that doc. So yeah.
And how to contact Derek? Should I contact him? What is the best channel to reach him? I mean,
I will comment and loop him in. So don't worry.
Okay.
And also, I record this meeting, so I will sync up with him after this meeting. Normally we have the sync up. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks very much.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, BG, and thanks for your time. And especially, I understand it's hard for you to attend those meetings. So let's move to next topic. And Manuel, I think you want to come back update.
Yeah, this is just an FYI. I opened a CAP, so please review. We covered this topic last week. So
yes, we already talked about last week. I think that we kind of from high level all agree on those things, right? So yeah, okay. So last one, it is I think the leak or Josh. I think the leak or Josh. Do you want to talk about the yearly a support CAP?
Yeah, if you follow that CAP, you'll see this is the outcome of the LTS working group. And we're proposing, based on user feedback, to extend patch support for Kubernetes to 4 full releases, which is actually more like 13 months or so. I talked to SIG testing about this, and they were under the impression that we would need to expand the kubelet SKU tests as part of this. And so I wanted to come to this meeting and find out whether or not SIG Node felt the same, and if so, how feasible that work was.
Can you elaborate more about the Kubernetes version school? Because today, basically, from the beginning, we found the first KubeCon, the very small version of the KubeCon, and we talk about the version school between master, control plane, and the Kubernetes. So we always require of the master control plane. It is up to 2 versions advanced of the Kubernetes, right? The compatibility. So I don't think if we meet that requirement and from the Kubernetes level, so I don't think about any problem here.
I think it's more about earlier we used to switch off the tests when we moved the older N-3 version out. Now we'll have to keep it around, and we should make sure that it continues to work. That's basically the difference.
But that's not Kubernetes specific, right? That's basically is just from Kubernetes level. So that's exactly Josh. You actually talked to the SIG test. So it's like the So once we make sure we can test, and there's the same version of the master component, and also basically Kubernetes will be difference to me is kind of we are going to maintain one more extra version of the Kubernetes, right? After this change. For example, in the past, after after 9 months, so old version of the Kubernetes, we basically don't need to patch. So after this change, even like after 9 months, we still need to patch older version. Right, so the master may be already deprecated, but Kubernetes still, this problem actually even in before this change, Ethernet support change, we have this problem even before. Like we keep saying that Kubernetes we support 9 months, but so you basically like for example a given time 1.5 Kubernetes, which is the master, and is stop support, but Kubernetes could be like the 2 version behind. So there's always have the fuzzy area. Is the Kubernetes 1.3 still support or not? Right? So that's always have the fuzzy area. So now it's more like even like after, so like even, so we used to be kind of like in certain way thinking about, oh, even you are already, Kubernetes already claim it is only support, the minimum version is 1.5, but we kind of assume customers still on the 1.3 possible. Even we kind of encourage them upgrade to 1.5, but there's the potential customer. So that's the fast area. But besides that, I don't think about there's the extra working school, because we are not proposing like if Kubernetes like the working school change from the 2 version difference to the 3 version, right?
Right. I mean, do you want to add one more version? That is one issue. The other one is, of course,
no.
What? Yeah. Okay.
Of course, no. Even before that, there's the fuzzy area I've been raised to the community. I think that's unclear. So, but actually, it's pounded to each vendor at the end. Kubernetes basically is pounded by each vendor to decide it. Like the certain vendor say, oh, you have to. After a certain period of time, you have to upgrade your node version, right? To match, to get rid of those screw. So there's certain vendor even never allowed up to 2 version screw. So I think from SIG Node interest, definitely we don't want to enlarge it for them up to like more than 2. I think more than 2 already is pretty hard for vendor today, because that fuzzy area, that gray area added complexity to vendor, everybody. And,
right. So basically, we don't want to change that we support. We keep the same SKU, but support the older tests that are still, and leave it running for one more cycle.
Exactly. But then that's the Kubernetes level, right? So it's not like the Kubernetes level, it's not a SIG node. And yeah, in general, I love this proposal because I've been support the data center, Google internal data center for so long. I understand people don't want, they have the working environment and they don't want to upgrade to SourceStream. And so I support this, but I don't think there are any big issue with this change to us. So.
Okay. Okay, well, sounds good then. We're moving slowly on this because of all of the disruption to our schedule, because the original plan had been to actually implement this policy against 119, so that 119 would be the first release that was supported for 4 releases. We're going to push that back now just because with what's going on, it's very hard to get a hold of people and for people to pay attention to things that are not top priorities.
Sure. Do you want me to do anything to support this one or just endorse this one?
If you could leave a comment on the CAP.
Sure, I will.
And that would do it.
Okay, cool. I love to see this making progress.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, no, we just got, we did extensive user surveys, and the big thing that came back from people was an awful lot of folks had trouble with the 9-month upgrade cycle.
I know. Yeah, definitely.
The our big battle, of course, is going to be getting Golang to continue patching things for a year. But,
but definitely made this change and give us as the community contributor a lot of actual work. Honestly, I have to say that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Cool. So that's all for today's topic. And any other?
Can I? Yes. I added this item like 2-3 weeks ago, but I couldn't make it. This one is about the Dockerless KEP.
Yes. Okay,
so the KEP is ready. The pull request is ready. It's green. So basically what it does is, just like we added providerless tag when you're building kubelet, if when you're building API server or anything else, when you add the providerless tag, then what happens is all the cloud providers will get removed. So any code relating to cloud provider is removed. So similar to that, we added a Dockerless tag in the SCEP and PR, and we got it working. So we made a huge amount of changes in C Advisor and other dependencies that we have to essentially get rid of Docker. We touched a lot of repositories. We created new repositories called Moby IPVS, Moby Term. Then there's a lot of background work that got done. Now, where we are stuck right now is getting an approval for the KEP and somebody to look at the PR and give us a thumbs up. Okay. And it's extremely simple PR. All it does is it adds build statements right at the top of the file saying Dockerless. That's it. So it's absolutely non-invasive. And the reason for doing this is for 2 use cases at this point. The first use cases is kind. Kind runs a bunch of things inside containerd. And it really, the kubelet that runs in kind doesn't really need Docker at all. So it will reduce the size of the kubelet, and it will make sure that kind can run stripped out of Docker shim completely. So that's one use case. The second use case is cluster API. The cluster API image builder also uses containerd, and it doesn't need Docker at all. So there's no Docker in the cluster API image. So to support these 2 use cases, we wanted to get this KEP and the PR merged.
Okay, I will assign this one to myself. Okay. Yeah, I saw this one actually already signed to me and Derek, so I will take a look at this one. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. So that's all for today. Any other topic people want to briefly mention?
I just have a question regarding one of my PR. I actually have a doubt regarding Node E2E test. Okay, so as part of my PR, like to prove that the failure scenario, I have to create a error from the networking plugin. So basically, the issue is like this we have discussed like in the last week SIG Node meeting. Currently, like kubelet, when it deletes a pod from the API server before removing, before getting a confirmation that the networking resources are actually cleaned up. So as part of that, like I had fixed the issue, like where now the kubelet as part of the checks which it makes before removing the pod from the API server, it even checks that the sandboxes, which is basically networking resources, are also removed, cleaned up properly. So in order to test that, I was asked to like write a E2E, Node E2E to make sure that we don't break this thing again. And I was looking at the E2E, E2E test suite and mostly the Node one in the kubelet and other things, but I couldn't get an idea like how I could create an E2E where I can simulate the failure on the networking plugin, because those things are like not generic. If it is a CNI, I can do in a specific way, but if the E2Es are running in a different environment of Kubernetes clusters, then they could have a different networking plugins, and then I have to simulate those scenarios. So any pointers on what could be a good way to approach this problem?
Sorry, last week I missed the signal, but I just saw the David summarize at your issue, and
Yes.
yeah, so
I can just like
he basically just suggests you like the create of like the pod and running the pod, and then pod terminated. So after pod terminated and remove the pod and just check, just inspect, run the CRI, Kato, and whatever things, inspect the container, and all those associated CNI resources gone, right? So that's basically what I noticed.
That that would be a positive test case, but if I had to do a negative test case, like where we are making sure that everything is cleaned up before actually removing from the API server, then have to have to make sure there's a failure in the network cleanup, but still the pod is not removed from the API server, which is happening currently.
Okay.
Because the third point, in the third point, he was mentioning about like ETU tests that demonstrate the fix. Like, so I was assuming to demonstrate the fix, it's basically currently like if I check that the pod is still present, even though network is there is some networking cleanup to be happened. Then I had to.
So you're looking for a way to scaffold up a failure in CNI.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So for CNI, it is I have a way, because I can temporarily remove the binary after creating the pod and then delete the pod. That will make sure that the containers are killed, but the networking resources are not. CNI is still failed, which is basically the issue which is happening for me, and I can check the API server that the pod still exists. But if the networking is a non-CNI thing, that is where I'm trying to see how I can do that.
So not by non-CNI, you mean when it's Docker shim?
Yes, if it's even Docker shim has a CNI support, but if if it's used KubeNet or a different networking plugin, like in Minikube or the kind where we have.
Do you think it'll be a different issue if it's a non-CNI networking?
No, the issue would be the same thing, but I can't I can't seem to find a way how I can introduce the failure in this networking plugins.
Yeah,
I got you.
He tried to provide a generic test for this generic CNI plugin failure, and try to make sure there's no regression in the long run. Like it always can, no matter how you change it. CNI plugin.
Right. Yeah. So you need a scaffolded version of a container runtime that includes failure cases for things like CNI.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've done some failure type efforts in that area around scaffolding CNI in some of our container runtime integration tests, right? But we haven't exposed that to the CryCTL validation layer, or put it in node testing. That's an interesting problem. We probably need to get some tests, maybe through SIG test, some groups together to talk about how we do this sort of scaffolding and test, failure testing across the container runtimes. If not in CryCTL, how, right?
Yeah.
You got any ideas, Morale? I don't know if you guys have any scaffolding for that kind of failure. I don't know if Morale's still on. I'm not.
Hey, sorry, Mike. I was in a different conversation, so I missed that.
Okay, I know. I'm super swamped too. You know, this is crazy. So I think at hand what we got is a problem with scaffolding at the integration layer, failures for networking and other reasons, right? When we're talking about E2E tests and more specifically Node E2E tests, how would you do that testing when CNI's down? They don't really have a way to scaffold that up. And because what's happening in the field, right, is you may have some spurious network issue, and there's a problem destroying the pod.
So the pod destroys a retry, right? When we return a failure from a stop,
right?
When CNI fails, right? And I think we have some issues in that area. And so what we are doing, we use Multus, and what we are doing is making Multus like more resilient, like retry for some time and so on. And one possible thing there, maybe it might be worth bubbling it up as a custom error in CRI, saying that, hey, my CNI is down, maybe retry in some time, or just say CNI down, retry again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what they're missing here is they're missing a container runtime scaffold that includes errors, so they can run E2E tests, on this generic scaffolded container runtime, and then make sure that they don't introduce new problems when they're modifying Kubernetes API servers, right? So it's an interesting problem. we handle it in integration level testing, at our levels, but we're not rolling that up through CRI-CTL or through the E2E node testing in general for them.
Yeah, what Mono said, it is basically mock the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Mock.
Have those implement all the interface, and so it's not like the real, like the end to end, like the node level end to or class level node and like the end to end test. It's just more like the
just mocking the error, right?
Yeah. So
certainly they can do that at the kubelet test level, right?
Yes. I had written the unit test using this mock.
Oh.
Okay. So using the new error type return codes that Manal was working on, that might, make it unique enough that you should be able to test that.
Yeah. I think that maybe in long run, we signal should implement of the node level. Actually, Kubernetes should implement of the entire of the failure injection framework. Hopefully, SIG test can pick up that work. And
okay.
we do have like a restart test. Those like force like the node restart reboot, but that's just like one forced failure injection at the. And we also have like the force pod restart, container restart, and then we do have those level, but it's not like the framework have to inject the different failure, network failure. Like for example, unknown test, network disconnected.
Yeah.
It's actually the ping for everybody. I believe for everybody deliver Kubernetes for their customer and host the Kubernetes for their users. So that's kind of pretty. So we never really at Kubernetes implemented that failure injection.
That'll work.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, we kind of didn't have the best solution here for you, and couldn't have the good suggestion.
No problem. No, I think these are good points. I'll try to follow up with other people.
Yeah, thanks
you.
Thanks,
everyone.
Sure.
Okay, I think that's all for today. Yes.
Let me ask one question. So this discussion which we had just a few minutes ago led me to a question. Do we have really some error message from container runtime interface which says something like bad happened to the pod and we cannot run it anymore? So please evacuate it from this node. So kubelet might still consider it like it's still good for this node, but in reality, it should be moved to somewhere else.
We do have the node problem detector.
Well, it's not really a problem for the whole node. It's just this spot is, for some reason, should be evacuated. Do we have some error message with Sarah I can report to kubelet that?
You mean from the container runtime level, right?
Yes.
Like so the problem is the container, like today, for example, Docker, most common problem, what I observed, it is, but I believe notice the container D and the Docker, both Docker fix this problem. Still, many people rely on the old version of the Docker. They see the problem, it is more like the inconsistency to will of the container status. Like the container D, think about the container die, Docker think about container still running, or sometimes vice versa. So that's the most common problem I saw for a given container. Most other things which is not consistent and also give the wrong message about the container status. But the rest of stuff I do think about we bubble up. And
my line of thoughts about this is actually about this memory manager proposal. Is so like imagine the situation. So we have the pod requesting X gigabyte of memory. Memory manager says like, okay, fine, we have this memory available on particular NUMA node. So it says to container runtime, okay, fine, attach this pod or start with container and this memory node. But what actually happened is what the container, when it starts, it's actually, let's say we have amount of free memory on this node, which is not sufficient. Or like amount of kernel pages what is locked and cannot be migrated or evacuated by the kernel is not is such big what like we cannot start really with container. So we need to say again back to the kubelet, sorry, it's good what you made this topology decision, but we cannot fulfill it. So either rethink the topology decision or actually move it out from this node somewhere else.
This is dangerous. This is a little bit dangerous. The reason it is basically you suggest the node have way more intelligence and reject the allocated of the pod. And the reason why I think about this is dangerous. Basically, it's just node disagree with the class level of scheduling decision and then reject it. And end up could be scheduler because they are not looking at the same amount of information. Scheduler still maybe thinking about this node is the good node. And or maybe schedulers think about this node is not good, but put another node and another node reject again.
Well, but we in reality, we have that situation already. So like the time between the scheduler make decision of allocating some pod to the node and when the actual pod is starting is it can be quite long. So it can be like tens of seconds in the worst case scenario.
Yes.
So the situation what scheduler made a decision based on available resources already might be changed because like other pods started or existing pods consumed more memory and so on. So we need somehow to from the node to say to the scheduler, sorry, I am not a good candidate for that, even with your algorithm. Please pick up something in the pool, but not me.
Yes.
So Alexander, we probably need to work on some standards around the sandbox, status that we respond back with. We can certainly augment that, with labels or whatnot, annotations that describe the, the networking status. Like right now, we're adding into the sandbox infrastructure the CNI result of the latest time that we tried to reload, and you'll see that for each pod when we return back the status if you ask for the extended result information. But we probably need to sit down and come up with more formal definitions of the response values that you can expect for different types of failures, you know, if for the status of the pods, right? And you could also extend that for containers, but that would be like we need a work group for something like that.
That's actually if the people attend the SIG Node long enough, or maybe Kuber from long time ago, even the first KubeCon meeting, I suggest we start to implement of the usage a while scheduler. And a lot of problem if the SIG Node people attend the SIG Node long enough, there are a lot of if actually could be addressed by usage a while of scheduling. So right now we always try to make node, like for example, even like the recent like the VPA proposal, still highly bypass of the scheduler. And so the concern for me it is, but anyway, we add more complexity to the node level. We do, and try to avoid this cascading issue and all those kind of things. We try to make sure node it is committed until node is really committed and update that, report that back to API server, and a lot of extra complexity. Because try to avoid the scheduling and to have, so kind of the scheduling, just think about kind of scheduling, really doing this blind scheduling work. And the customer can arbitrarily put any number of the request. Even like we told customer, even on the node, we do like the punish if you are not wild. So that's also introduce a lot of usability problem for us, because the request is not really reflect of your usage, because you can gain in this whole system, right? So the problem a lot, it is just because the scheduler is not usage aware of the scheduler. I just want to say, we do support Node from day one, like even without Kubernetes, we already, when we first implement Kubernetes, we already start a report of the node level resource through the CI weather, right? Same team actually implement CI weather and initially and implement of the Kubernetes. And so we started to report those things, but the problem is the Kubernetes scheduler never really respect that. So the Kubernetes scheduler look at that node, know the resource usage, right? So it could be like that you are really carefully schedule all the job, it's guaranteed the job.
And when you say in this case resource usage, you're also including resource failures at the hardware level for SIG Node. Exactly. And we don't really have a whole lot of good documentation or contracts for, you know, what's going to happen when a node is failing, right?
Yes.
And yeah, maybe passing all this through the pods isn't the right answer either, right?
Yes.
You may have some pod specific issues. For example, if a pod had its own CNI plugin that was required, but other pods didn't, then you might have a, you know, one situation where all these other pods can run fine on the node, but not this pod that requires some hardware level stuff.
It can also be happening with the storage. So for example, like the pod requests system storage, and we, for some reason, we are not able to attach with storage to this pod. We need to report saying like, sorry, we cannot. Yeah.
We did a report. The problem it is the scheduler, allocator, whatever, have to respect that data. Then once they restart the data, then Alexander, earlier you said, okay, node add more intelligence. We definitely can do. The problem is today, node add intelligence, then rejected, you end up even more dangerous. You end up could be like the ping pong the workload. Right. Or you end up to like this same, or maybe the cascading issue. That's the dangerous part. Many times people propose, I said, please talk to the scheduler or to have the level.
We definitely need to talk with them, because the node cannot simply reject like or remove like the node selectors from a field. Yeah. We also need to say like, don't put us again this pod to me, and we know that there is a problem. So it's not more about like rejecting, it's more about like when we try to do some operation, we encountered some problem which we cannot recover for this pod.
Yes. So sorry, Alexander, this is the good suggestion, but this is non-topic. and there's many things we could do, but it's not just SIG Node and require Kubernetes to make the change. And so we ran out of the time. So, and but we can continue those discussing. And if we really want, I want to invite the people from scheduling and architecture, because I think that if they don't change, always those like the intelligence embedded in the node, it will make a cluster much harder to manage in the long run. So that's why we've been push back those ideas, and because we already embedded a lot of logic in the node, and it's hard for people. For us, obviously, we have so many ideas on the node people and kernel people. We have so many ideas we want to expose, we want to give to customer, and we want to boost our performance, make the whole system more efficient to support the different type of the workload. But we need to involve with together with the cluster. So that's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's bring the scheduling guys and discuss with Sunday.
Yes, if you want, you can look me in on those things, and yeah, we can move forward. Yes. Okay, and I think we ran out of time. Thank you everyone attend today's meeting, and looking forward to see you next week, and stay safe, stay healthy. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.